Good evening at 6 o'clock. It's Thursday, March 21st. This is the meeting of the Finance Committee in the small meeting room in Town Hall. I remind anyone who's out there watching or in the audience, especially in the audience, if you're going to record this, please communicate with the chair beforehand. This meeting is being recorded. With that, I'll call the meeting to order. Our first order of business, I'll entertain a motion on the minutes of March 13th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, moved and approved to accept the minutes, or approve the minutes of March 13th. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. It's going to be a roll call vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Aye. Peter's an aye. Dana?
Aye.
Okay. 5-0. And I just have to make notes in case we miss this a little, so. Mark K. moved. Seconded. I'll just remind everybody that Dana DeCosta is participating remotely this evening. And just for the record, we have Mark Amoraz, Mark Kelleher, Bob McCready, and myself here in the room. Actually, we're delighted that Linda Sabula with us in the audience. Thank you for coming. We appreciate that. Okay, we have a public hearing on the operating budget scheduled for 6:15. In the meantime, in the run-up to that, let's do some business. So, Dana, have you got some items you'd like us to take up?
Sure, if you'd like, we could, I move to recommend the water department budget at $4,831,887.
Let's get to the actual, now that we have a warrant in front of us, let's get to the actual article number. So water department.
This is Article 7.
That's article number 7. Okay. So your motion, just so I'm clear, is to adopt the water department budget in the amount of $4,831,887.
Yes, and that's to come from water enterprise funds.
I second.
Who is that?
Mark Emmerich.
Okay. So moved and seconded to accept and adopt the water budget from the water funds. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Bob? Dana?
Aye.
Chair is an aye, so it's 5-0. Okay, next.
We could do the the wastewater sewer budget.
Yep. That's Article 8.
Article 8.
Okay, so what's your motion, just to be clear?
According to my notes, this would be raised and appropriated.
Yeah,
That may change, but it's right now raised and appropriated.
yep.
Can I ask a question? What's the difference between raise and appropriate versus make a motion to accept this year? Just so.
Go ahead, Dane.
Usually in a motion to accept and adopt, you want to name the funding source. And in this case, raise and appropriate is just the term we use for taxes. It includes taxes and all the other fees that we have available. It's not like from free cash, it's not being borrowed. It's from a source that is known. So in this case, raise and appropriate means it comes from taxes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the total amount was, just to repeat it?
$700,432.
Okay, so Dana moved, did somebody second it?
Second.
Okay. You're making it easy for me. All right. Article 8, the wastewater department budget, it's been moved and seconded to adopt. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Peter's and I, 5-0. Okay. Next.
Article 9 is a transfer from special purpose stabilization wastewater fund.
Article 9 says the Monomoy Middle School renovation project. Article 9 in the new document says Monomoy Middle School renovation project.
Article 9 9 says that?
It does.
That's what my Article 9 says. So why don't you,
Okay, then that's different.
why don't you skip that? Why don't you skip that?
Yep. Do you have the 500,000 from, transfer from special purpose stabilization fund to way forward?
I don't believe so. It's referenced, it's referenced in the operating budget, but the separate article does not appear to be here at this point.
Why don't you move? You ready for Article 11, the fund the Cape Cod Community Media Center, maybe?
Yes. I move that this article is accepted and adopted with $158,273 from PEG funds.
I second.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and adopt Article 11, Fund Cape Cod Community Media Center. Estimated cost is $158,273 from PEG funds. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
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 Dana?
Aye.
5, the chairman is aye, 5-0. Okay. What do you got? You got anything on,
Excuse
Do
me.
you want to do petitions?
which article?
I have it as Article 10, the 3.
The one on the trees?
Yes.
It's hot in here.
I'm moving to the trees, hang on a second.
Does the petition,
Or I'm in the trees, one or the other.
do the petition articles usually go at the end?
Article 10.
Not this year.
They mix them up so you have to stay for the whole meeting. All right, Article 10 is a petition article for a tree preservation bylaw. Dana?
I move we indefinitely postpone this article.
I second.
All right, so moved and seconded to indefinitely postpone the article. Any discussion?
Just, excuse me, I went to the selectmen's meeting and they voted on this on Monday. Does that make any difference?
No, it's our
Okay.
position, not theirs.
Okay.
I suggested Dana, by the way, while discussing that we come up with a new category called NTY. No, thank you. But that's just me. Okay, any further discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to know why Dana is recommending to IP it.
If you look at, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the entire package, there was one document that made all the difference to me, and that was the amount of land around each homeowner's land that will be affected by this. I see this as approaching, like I myself own the trees around my land, but this is going to take a significant, all the setback numbers away from my land and make it possible for the town to control this land as far as the trees go. And when I bought this land, it was under the usual real estate allowance that allows me to control the stuff that's on my land, and underneath my land, and above my land. And this takes that control away from us, landowners, and gives it to the town. And it does it for every property. So whether you want to say trees or not is your own business, but this takes that control away from you and puts it in the onus of the town. It's a petition article. It was copied from some other town somewhere, and I just don't think it's right for the town of Harwich. That's my opinion.
My read of it says that we're going to start an industry here or a business that people who eventually want to sell their property will come to an agreement with those who want to buy their property. For any discussion of construction, that an arborist will come through, mark the trees that might be impacted by this, and the homeowner or the landowner, without any construction going on, gets to cut down those trees, the way I read this. So I could see a lot being pre-prepared before any purchase and sale agreement is signed. So I think it's not gonna have the effect that they're trying to have, I think, so. Okay, any further discussion on that? All right, the motion is on Article 10, which is the tree preservation bylaw, indefinite postponement. So, and by the way, I'll note that Michelle Galucci just joined us around 6:07. So now our votes will go to a total of 6. All right, I'll put that motion to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
All right, chairman is aye, 6-0. Okay, what time we got? Joe, I note that you're there. Joe Parr is our town administrator. You look like you're in a London fog. I don't know what the background is, but I don't know if you can do anything about it. We're just going through some stuff before we get to 6:15, so you might try and work with that. Dana, you got something else?
Yeah, if you want to continue on, number 13, which is the pesticides article.
13 is a home rule petition on pesticides, yep.
Unless there's a positive motion, I'd move to indefinitely postpone this one as well.
Do you have a positive motion?
Yeah, I'll make a positive motion.
Okay, all right, well, good.
So move to accept and adopt.
Yeah, okay.
I second.
Okay, move to accept and adopt, Bob and Mark. Discussion.
Well, I think as with the fertilizers that I think it's not a bad thing to be able to start making the point that that having these ground and water destructive elements that we don't need to have, it's really a question of why would we allow them, as to me, as opposed to why we wouldn't allow them. So taking a step towards cleaning up the land and water and animals that are affected, and as the petitioner has indicated, sounds like a good idea.
Okay, anybody else? Dana, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, the reason I would indefinitely postpone is, in town, I was a licensed pesticide applicator for 19 years, and I know that in Harwich, like many other towns, that the biggest problem is not with the licensed pesticide applicators, it's with the actual homeowners themselves that take matters into their own hands and start to do things. I just think that as a bylaw for the town that is this comprehensive and has this much involved, that it's better off to come from our own planning department and our own resources within the town, rather than as a petition that was copied from some other town.
Okay, anybody else? All right, so the motion is to accept and adopt. This is Article 13, which is the Home Rule Petition Pesticides article. So accept and adopt. All those in favor, Mark?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Dana?
No?
And the chair is a no. So let me just make sure I get these down. So we have 3 noes and 3 ayes.
So it's not a vote. So we'll have to
It's
take
not a vote. We'll take it up later. Okay?
Yeah.
Unless someone wants to change their mind. Okay, we're going to stop at that point. Because we do have a public hearing at 6:15. Joe, are you sitting down in your office? I can't hear you.
You're muted, Joe, you're muted.
I am, so that I can easily talk. I have my binder, I have munis, I have everything I need in front of me here, so I figured it might be more expeditious to participate that way.
Okay, if we get in the real bind, we'll drag you up here. How's that? That'd be
No
okay?
dragging necessary, I'll come willingly.
There you go. Okay.
Good to see you, Joe.
Likewise, great to see everybody.
And we also have just, our finance director, Kathleen Barrett, is here. And she has all her books, so you may want to set up this table. Joe's down in his office, so.
Didn't want to jump in anyone's spot.
You never know.
I'll share.
So Mark, do you have the,
Yeah,
do you need this?
All right.
Okay, it's 6:15. The main business tonight is to discuss, or have the public hearing on the town operating budget for 2025. I would ask the clerk at this time to read the notice of the public hearing.
Okay, a public hearing for the fiscal year 2025 town operating budget pursuant to Chapter 9, Section 33 of the Harwich Home Rule Chapter. The Finance Committee will hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 21st, 2024, no earlier than 6:15 PM in the small meeting room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street, Harwich, for the purpose of reviewing the fiscal year 2025 Town of Harwich operating budget.
Okay, thank you. So we will I will call the public meeting, open the public meeting. And I'll turn it over to the town administrator to give us well, let me first say that we got a significant update on this in the last 24 hours. So, I know that we distributed the materials to the team on the Finance Committee. Apologize you haven't had a lot of time to digest it, but here we are. And
Thank
this
you.
public hearing was scheduled when we met on March,
The one you sent out.
Just a slight change.
That
on
was-
March
Oh, it's
2nd.
changed already?
Yeah, that's like 15 minutes ago. Different from yesterday.
Okay,
Sorry.
it's changed in 2 minutes.
Step over here.
Okay, so with that, either Joe, do you want to walk through the budget?
I can certainly begin, and I'll get into as much depth as possible. I'm going to also refer to my colleague, the finance director, more on, I think, questions of available sources and balances. What you have in your packet under Article 4 and the Appendix B are draft versions. They were drafted as of noon today. There are slight changes in the numbers. I think Kathleen can tell you the minor changes to the numbers on the table, and then I can certainly get to the specifics. But what we're looking at for fiscal year 2025 is an operating budget and other costs related of over $45 million. So, Mr. Chairman, I know that information was sent after my publication and printing for those materials. So if you could just, through me, if that's possible, just ask the finance director to give us the updated number under operating budget in the table on Article 4.
Okay. You have the updated number, Kathleen?
The Article 4 is $45,807,309.46.
209? Did you say 209?
309.
309, I'm sorry.
Yes. Oh, that's okay. There was a small change. The biggest change, there was a small adjustment increase that was discussed Tuesday night with respect to the fire department needing some additional funds for a grant that they're applying for, an AFG grant. So they have to contribute 5% towards it. It's a little, it's 13,000. Lost the pile. It's a little over 13,000, and then we have estimated debt. We're going to be borrowing late May, early June, and so it is a very close estimate that's provided to us by our financial advisor. But we just added a few $1,000s in case there's slight changes. We just rather have a little bit more than not enough. It's actually in total it was like $21,000. It's a small change.
Okay, so we have the total, Joe.
And you heard some of the explanations that came out of the select board meeting at their meeting Tuesday evening, March 19th, that would explain the delta between what was printed and what you have in front of you this evening. As you can see, as we do or have done in years past, we make reference in the body of the article to the estimated cost that will be updated to reflect the numbers you heard. And then you have the table that covers the sources. And so we have other sources that, and again, I'll ask Kathleen to correct anything that I say incorrectly on numbers based on the recent changes. But essentially, other sources accounts for $2,690,639. We are relying upon estimated local receipts to the tune of $16,307,350. So the remainder is, as you know, raised and appropriated coming from the levy limit, $26,712,917.
We got
Would you
it.
like me to continue?
Yep.
In the explanation, I want to emphasize, if you look at, I think it's about the fifth or sixth sentence down, where you see the word deductible. That following sentence is going to be stricken. There is not a separate article relying upon special purpose stabilization funds. As you can see in the table, it's within sources identified. The council has opined that that is sufficient. That language about Article 9 will be removed from the explanation in the final version. As you may know, the Select Board discussed this Tuesday evening. They did vote to place it. They are expected to vote Monday evening to accept the operating budget as presented.
Okay. So when we met we had the joint budget meeting on March 2nd. We went through, most of this with departments and whatnot. There were several EOS, right?
Correct.
Requests for EOS. Are all of those that were requested now in this budget?
No, the board did not accept all of the requested EOSs. They have approved the enhancement of service and administration, so that's Department 149, for a human resources position, onboarding costs related to that, and also costs related to human resource programming, for lack of a better phrase. That one was approved by the Select Board and is included in this operating budget.
Is that the only one?
No, but I don't have my notes on it, so if Kathleen can help me in some way, I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to be looking on the shared drive for additional notes.
That I don't think I have.
I may have it here, you can look at it.
Oh, see?
I remember there was a part-time cemetery position
That was not approved.
not approved.
No.
There was
There was a DPW cemetery craftsman, that was not approved.
a request for a program, like specialist or something in the rec
Yep.
department.
That was not approved.
No.
The community center, expense increases was approved. I believe it was 52,000.
So it's
That was for like they needed some like a scanner, and they needed curtain
There was a
blind.
request for, in the community center, just me trying to remember, a position which would be a program coordinator.
I don't believe that was approved.
Second you.
Let's do it. Can we just do this to expedite this maybe? Could we get
Yeah,
a list
so-
of what was included in the budget
This,
Just so
that's
we-
a no.
for positions, the new positions, just so we know?
Certainly, and as the board discussed on Tuesday night, there will be narrative added to the explanation under Article 4. And as you may recall from last year, there'll be additional information at the bottom of Appendix D in the lower left-hand corner identifying that.
So, again, just to reiterate that, can you provide a list of what EOSs were approved?
I would defer to the finance director on that information.
Kathleen, would you please provide us a list of what's
Sure.
included for EOS in the budget so we don't have to go hunt all day for it, and to make sure it's accurate?
Exactly, that's all.
And if I could add that tomorrow, that would be wonderful.
I certainly can give you a, thank you to Mark for his detail. The fire department overtime changed. That was added, that was approved, but then they reduced it, so it's around 231,000 I can get you the exact dollar amount.
Yeah.
The community center did have the increase. So it was administration, fire, and the community center. So the total of the EOSs is in this narrative as well. So the total was $461,378.
And there
What'd
was
you
a,
461,378. So it's the middle paragraph in the handout I gave you.
it was proposed also to be a position in the maintenance department.
Yeah, that hasn't been resolved as well. They did not vote on
Okay, so
that.
you just give me a list and
Yeah.
I'll distribute it to
So
my
there's the
team.
ones that are proposed and the ones that are, some of which were approved, some of which are still, I believe will be decided, I would imagine next Monday. But, so they were still doing some research for the DPW position. And I believe that was the only like open item,
Okay.
like to be determined, whereas the other ones had made these decisions. So it was the highway craftsman was not approved. The cemetery administration position was not approved. The youth and family services position was not approved. And the recreation and youth staff person is not approved.
Okay.
Clarity's sake.
So there was a significant number added for the fire department overtime. We had the chief in last week, I think it was.
I'm sorry.
The fire chief was here last week, I
Yes.
believe, to explain
Yes.
that reduction. I assume it was the
Yeah.
same reduction that was voted. In the
Yes.
base budget, tell us how much overtime was in the base budget before this additional request, or is that all the overtime requested?
That I might be able to get in. Oh, Lord.
I think the base budget had overtime in it
It did.
to start,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I'm trying to,
So, I think, Joe, you have that, the fire department's memo. We can back into the total. I wasn't as involved in the EOSs.
but it was some number, right?
It was.
Okay, so, well, I have a philosophical approach I want to talk about, and that is, the fire department had a basic overtime budget before we get into this EOS, which added another, whatever the number is to it, right? My druthers, and having talked, when the chief was here, that to control that overtime, because it's important to monitor and control those numbers. We have experience in the past with doing that, and my recommendation, we should at least consider taking that money in overtime, put it in the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, and the fire department can come to us when they need it, if they need it. That way, there's all these eyes looking at it and a little bit of monitoring going on with the expenditure of that additional overtime. So that's just my thought. I don't know anybody else's.
I would just counter that by the time that the Finance Committee is able to actually vote on a transfer from the reserve fund, they may already be in a deficit, and if you vote against it, we'd have to find another funding source.
So if they know this mechanism in place, and by the way, we've done it many years ago in the past, that they plan for it and they come to us 30 days ahead of time and they say, you know what? At the end of April, running out of overtime, we need this. Here's our plan for the rest of the year. Because things do vary. I mean, they just do,
Of course.
So that's my druthers. That's just me. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels.
Yeah. Well, that certainly would be an administration decision, certainly not mine.
I understand. Dana, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that only because it's a way, I know as when I was a selectman and you were a selectman, we actually went to our chief and said, you need to control this number as best you can. And that was a tool that we even used back then to do that and just put some money that's available. And, if we get down towards the end and it looks like it's going to be needed, we can even encumber those funds to do that. I know I put a proposal in to you, Peter, that says that we should at some point, based on the all-day meeting, increase the Finance Committee Reserve Fund because, A, some department heads don't know about it, and reminding them that you know, 50,000 is available, and that some others could be available, would be a good idea for us to do. And also, when you put money in the reserve fund, it helps increase the amount of reserves the town has, which is a number that the Department of Revenue looks at, and a number that the town uses to help maintain its AAA rating and all those kinds of things. Having good reserves is a good thing to do. We've taken that reserve fund to help budget, and we stripped it down from $250 down to $50,000. And I think, based on what we heard at the all-day meeting and what's going on with budgets today, that it's a good idea to ramp that up a little bit and have some money available to help budgets out. They get something unexpected like the harbor master spoke to us about, and fix those things as we go. Keeping a real close watch on that amount of overtime, and it's a big number, it's over $1 million, is just a reassuring way to go before the town and say, you know, they've at least got to come to us if they get into real trouble.
That's not any real trouble, it's that, you know, they need the money as they go forward. I mean, that's all it is. Anybody else? Mark?
I think that's a great idea because, as I mentioned to the chief and the assistant chief, deputy chief, if you went to town meeting last year, you left with the supposition that we were going to add 4 firefighters, increase the size of the force by 10%, and decrease overtime by $200,000. And then to have that increase in overtime, you weren't expecting that. I think this gives another set of eyes, and we're not denying the fire department access to that money. It's just there's a process to go to get it, and I think that's a good checks and balances, which we should be doing.
Okay, anybody else?
Finally, adding 75,000 to the Finance Committee Reserve Fund and taking it from the fire department overtime fund doesn't change the bottom line at all, but it puts it in a healthier position for the town financially.
Joe, you have any input on that? Or-
I was using the hand raising function. I will tell you that the board debated this vigorously. They raised a lot of the same concerns that you're raising here this evening. I think Chief LeBlanc made a compelling argument, and it led the board to approve it. I will tell you that the number that was first stated for overtime was in excess of $270,000. And I believe the number that he's going forward with now is just over $230,000. Again, the board has endorsed this. It's in the finance department, the fire department line item, and it is part of what is recommended under our appeal. I had the hand raised also to give you an update on one of the other EOSs that was mentioned when you're ready for that one.
Okay. Quite frankly, what the board voted for is what the board voted for. This is the Finance Committee. We'll vote, you know, on this one the way we want to do it. We think it should be done. I mean, I'm getting that sense. With some funds in the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, again, just to keep some eyes and to monitor the spending, if you will, on overtime. Okay. You want to go back to EOS? You got an EOS, Joe?
Yeah, so the statement was made, it's my understanding that the board's decisions on the enhancement of services are final. What they came to on the rec and use was supporting a copier, but holding off on the other expenditures.
Yeah.
But we'll validate that and confirm that. With regard to the Public Works Department, the de novo request that arose for a working foreman in the Facilities Maintenance Department, the board voted Tuesday evening to forego that at present and direct me to work on a reorganization plan that may be able to accomplish that, but they are not moving forward on that enhancement of service request in this budget at this time.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, let's see, we have some let's take a break. We have some members of the audience here. If anybody in the public would like to make a comment or say anything, ask any questions, why don't you jump in now? And you'll have to, for the record, you'll have to state your name, please. And it would be helpful to come up here by this microphone, maybe. Sorry for the accommodations in here. It's not terrific. So I recognize Linda Cebola, who's with us tonight.
Just a few questions on this budget as you start going through it. One is, has this committee ever received the detailed munis information? Are you only working with high-level?
No, they've gotten all of it. They were sent to it. It was sent last night.
It was sent last night.
It was.
So
It was
they-
requested Tuesday night by the board. I sent it to Chairman Hughes and all members of the select board. I have every calculation for every line item for the entire budget.
We have it
So-
recently.
So Peter, you got it today?
I believe it was today, and I distributed it to my members.
Okay, so basically you've had no time to look at that detailed information.
I think some of us might be working in other capacities other than the Finance Committee.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, so just checking, so.
that's a true statement.
So really is, so you've received detailed information, but you've had no opportunity to really go through it?
No.
Okay.
And to
It
be
was,
fair-
it was sent when it was requested, so it
It was
wasn't,
requested on March 2nd, whenever they had their information.
they were looking for budget information,
Sure,
and
and they
we
never got it,
gave
so-
that to them.
Okay, so the answer is we
I'll
got it
argue.
in the last 24 hours.
Okay, so at least the public knows that.
That's fine.
The info, last year we passed an article that gave $250,000 childcare subsidies. And there was supposed to be at a town meeting, there was a statement made that there would be information coming on how many people, what were the requirements, who got to use it. Has the Finance Committee seen any of that information? No.
Since that article was passed, I have not had any feedback
Okay.
myself, which means the Finance Committee has
I
not.
would,
Okay, so that's
But I will
no.
say this, I will just to point out, in this document, which is the line item for the budgets, there is a line item, just so you know, that's called, under administration, preschool families support program, $250,000, I
Yes.
see. Not in an article, except for in the budget
Yeah,
article.
it's in the budget.
Right, right.
So I was just asking to see, there's a budget request for $250,000 more when there has been no information as to how it was used.
So I can't, Linda, to answer your question, I can't tell you whether we spent all $250,000 in the last year, whether there's a balance in that account, whether, 25 families showed up and they all got $10,000. I don't know. I can't tell you because I have not heard any information.
Okay, that's okay.
Can I-
So the answer is
Oh, ma'am,
really,
Michelle
this
is-
committee has no information on that.
Can I just comment, I have recently brought that up, that I wanted to see that information. So I did
Yep.
bring that up in I think it was our finance meeting.
No, but we have not seen, or
I'm interested.
unaware of there being any evaluation done of that program.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to ask the town, hang on, I'm going to ask the town administrator, it's a public hearing. Joe, I think if I remember correctly, that falls under your department to administer, and is there any reports, statistics on, who applied, how many things were given out, where we are with the whole program?
There's information that has not yet been formally presented to the select board. The chair is going to work that topic. It is still a priority of the board, and I expect that they will have a discussion on the program.
Okay, but I would just say for this board, until we get some more information, it's not in my budget, so,
Exactly right. It's
So-
not in my budget either.
anyhow.
Okay,
And then, wait, just it brings up the point also, Joe, we took an article last year that was passed to do it, and then we, for whatever reason, decided we're gonna put it in the budget this year. It also raises the question in my head, for eons, we've had the library article, and we've had the Chamber of Commerce article, and those things pass every year, basically the same dollar amount. Why aren't we just putting that in the budget? If we want to streamline town meeting, for instance. Okay, we'll move
Sorry,
on.
is that a question, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I don't know, I'm just suggesting, maybe we should think about, maybe it's even next year that we put those in the budget, because it's kind of like, we take them up every year, right? They always get voted. I mean, I don't know anybody that's objecting to them, and it's like a routine thing. And if we're saying this is routine after 1 year, right? You gotta kind of raise your head and say, wait a minute, if this one qualifies to get put in the budget, why aren't the other ones in it? I don't just, thank you for asking the question.
Clearly, the other view, which is if we've continued over the years to have these other articles for much smaller amounts of money, why would we not, why would we put this?
That's the other side of the
suddenly-
coin.
That's exactly, and have that conversation.
Right. All right, Linda, you.
Appreciate it, and I hope that town administration, I'm gonna ask that question on town meeting floor, so hopefully by the time town meeting shows up, that somebody has an answer to some of those statistics on who used the 250, how is it allocated, how many families were served, is there any money remaining in the 250? It would be nice to know before we get asked for another $250,000. So hopefully that happens. My last question,
Oh, it's never a last question.
last question for right this second.
Okay,
And I appreciate the opportunity. I actually have two more.
see?
One is, Article 4 was printed in the warrant at noon of 45-17-710-906. I heard Kathleen say something about 45-807-309, but yet the numbers that were read off for subtotals of the sources, the estimated receipts, and the tax levy were all the same numbers. So I don't understand what has changed.
This article has not been updated.
Okay,
I
but
did
if
not
you-
distribute this, so it's gonna be correct.
It was an updated number.
But it's an updated number.
It's gonna be updated.
So what are the
The
components
number
of that
changed by like
$97,000?
$97.
Just generally. I heard 13,000 fire, I think it was OT or something?
No, that was a
that's the
grant
numbers.
matching funds.
Okay,
There was an increase in
some additional debt
additional
number.
debt service.
Yeah,
I don't have a $90,000 difference. Mine was 21, so I don't know what your math is.
710-906-807-309 is 97,000. So that's, I
I
don't understand.
wouldn't be able to do the math and go over that with you on the fly. I think it would probably be more appropriate to have it be completely updated and distributed.
So Linda, I would say that I'm not defending or denying anything, but I will say we just got this information.
Yeah,
This meeting was scheduled back when we did the March 2nd joint budget meeting. We scheduled this meeting, and here we are. We're having the hearing.
no, I agree, Peter, but I think if you've changed numbers from one sheet of paper on one day to the next,
Oh, I know.
you should have some idea.
We should have had this 2 weeks
In
ago, but that's
general,
another, here
But
we
even
are.
in one day, you
I
should
know.
have some idea of what the 97,000 is.
I appreciate it.
Not-
Last one, and I promise, because these are really global questions. The Special Purpose Stabilization Fund for wastewater, this $500,000 in sources. If I remember correctly, the operating budget is a majority vote.
Mhm.
50.01% vote. Use of stabilization funds, from my memory, when I was on the Finance Committee and on the Select Board, is it takes a 2/3 majority
Yeah.
to use a stabilization.
Right.
So is that going to be, that make the Article 4 need to be entirely 2/3? Or is just a piece of it, I'm just curious about the
Okay,
mechanics.
so I'll just tell you that,
Joe could answer this question.
Joe, you gonna answer that question?
Certainly, Governor Healy changed the quantum of vote for special purpose stabilization funds, not general stabilization funds.
Special
General
purpose.
stabilization funds still require 2/3 vote. Governor Healy passed, or had legislation passed, that changed the quantum of vote to take funds for special purpose stabilization as a straight majority.
Okay, so special purpose can just be a majority. What are the ones that still require the 2/3, Joe?
what we consider to now be general stabilization
The general.
fund, so our primary purpose stabilization fund.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, because reading through this, it was a question, you know, as to how this works. Okay, great.
That's it?
I appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of things in the budget, but since nobody seems to have any real, the public has no information, no detailed information. All we know is department, $85 gabillion for salaries, and this department, 85. We have no idea, so the public can't even ask a question. So.
Well, the public asked the question just like you had this evening, and that's why you have a public hearing, and
Yeah.
we can see there are two people of the public that came.
But-
So I
but
mean,
in-
it's, you know,
And I hear you, Peter, but still, the lack of information that is available to the public, and then we're gonna be asked to vote on
a lot.
45,807,000, which we don't know why that changed for 97. That's a lot of money.
Right.
And basically, we're all just gonna say, okay, because we have zero information.
Right.
And it's really distressing.
And as you know, unfortunately, we'll spend more time at town meeting on a lot of other articles, and we'll spend 10 minutes on the 3 budgets. Or 4
Because there is no information.
I understand. So
So people
hopefully
are just
people
gonna
at
say,
home-
okay.
I know people at home are watching this, hopefully. Somebody will pay attention to it and start asking some questions, maybe.
It would
Maybe
be
they'll
good.
come, by the way, we are meeting next Tuesday night, the 26th, I believe, to continue our deliberations, and maybe this meeting will spur some folks to come and ask some questions.
Yeah, it's hard to even know what questions to ask if you
I
have no
understand.
information.
No, I understand. I
Appreciate it,
understand your
Peter.
frustration. We share it.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi.
All right, how are you? Would you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Scott Norum. I live in Pleasant Lake, and I became a voter last week.
Oh, good for you.
All right.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
All right.
So I have a global question, and it'd probably be the only one for tonight, because I'm just getting into all this stuff in my new spare time, having retired very recently. When we look at the columns in Appendix B, where we see the proposed recommended budget and the actuals from 2 years ago, all we have for the year that just ended on June 30th, 2023 is, I believe, the original budget. That's the format of Appendix B as I've seen it in prior warrants. And
This particular document?
it's the one in the warrant itself
Okay,
at the
yep.
very end on page 90 or 100.
Oh, right.
And I'm curious, because the actuals must be somewhere at that point, the June 30th, 2023 actuals for the warrant that will be discussed at town meeting this year, do you guys get to see that, to compare the proposed budget to the actuals instead of just the original budget for last year?
Well, let's see, who's going to answer this one? The Finance Committee, or Finance Director, or,
That would,
what's that?
that would be a town
All
administrator
right, Town
question.
Administrator will tell us about latest actual numbers, which I think is
I
Scott's
mean,
question.
well, I think the
Yeah.
question was,
That would be,
You're looking for actuals from FY '23.
Right, and that comes out in the comprehensive financial report in a different format, right?
yeah,
Which is audited, and it was dated February 28th last year, so maybe that exists also, but it'd be pretty hard to crosswalk from that to
Yep.
Appendix B.
Yep.
So I'm just curious, in what you see and your evaluation of these budget requests, whether you see the actuals from 2023.
You see what is passed on to us
Yeah.
and what you see tonight.
Yeah, well, I don't,
This
This is not public, right, the
There's,
draft?
there's no secret
No.
information that's passed to us.
Right.
If that's one of your concerns.
no, not at all.
Anything we get is fair, open game for the public. There is no, you know, oh, look at this, but I'm not gonna
Right.
tell anybody this. I mean, that,
Right.
I can tell you that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
But I think your bigger concern is, what are the latest numbers that are available to use when you're reference, or trying to figure out next year's budget? Number one, how is this year going, and how did the last year end?
right.
I think that's what you're
Exactly. I
asking.
forgot about how is this year
Well, that's a
going,
minor
which is a good
question.
question too. It's already 3/4 done, almost.
It would be a trend if you saw the first 9 months, you said,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Joe, you want to jump in on that one?
well, sure, but if someone said the town administrator, that's incorrect. Appendix B is a function of our finance division, It is a function of our accounting department. The layout that you see in this year's Appendix B is something that the board has reviewed. My understanding in years past, we have shown voted versus requested and actuals when they're available. I'd ask the finance director to speak to what she thinks would be the most recent quarterly report for fiscal year 24 actual to get some gleaning of where we're at. But that is a function of finance.
Okay, so Kathleen, we're throwing it back to you.
I followed prior year warrants and had them match exactly. If the inclusion of actuals is something that's requested, it can certainly be added. It was to be consistent, so we were looking budget to budget to budget, so you could see the trend of what's been actually voted at town meetings. That was for that purpose. If you wanted to do a budget analysis, it may be it starts to get a lot of information, so it may be something that's actually would be more a reference document, would be like budget to actual analysis, as opposed to what the budget presentation looks like in Appendix B. It's certainly like whatever is, the board feels that they want to have in the warrant, we certainly will include.
I noticed from 2022, there were many more columns. There was, I think, starting with 2018 actuals, there were like 3 years of actuals, and then the budget, and then the proposal for the recommended budget. And I just think that for the public to see a document in May that has only a budget for a year that ended 22 months ago and not the actuals, it's just odd. It seems like it's missing an important waypoint.
What you'd like to be able to do is say, okay, if you budgeted X, but you only spend 80% of X, why was that? And do you really need X again, or X plus 2.5% going forward? Why don't you take 80% of X and then factor in 2.5, or something like that? I get your point.
Well, and one of the reports we got from March 2nd, the next year versus current year budget analysis does start off with FY23 actuals.
Yeah.
Like Munis has that, but this was to try to have something that wouldn't be like 3 font too. You can only fit so much on a page. So we didn't to muddy the water. Budget to actual budget. What are you voting?
I actually would think actual is better than budget, quite frankly.
For a year that's
Because
completed.
then it says this is what actually happened as opposed to what we thought might happen.
Yes, for a year that's completed, like FY23, exactly.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Dana, from Florida.
there shouldn't be a lot of changes either, because it's just what we do at the end of the year as far as end of the year transfers that really affect what happened from one year to the next. So I would think that there wouldn't be a lot of different line items that were affected by those changes.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, and the transfer list that we went through last fall wasn't a terribly long list.
Scott, for the record, can I get the spelling of your last name?
Yeah, N as in Nancy,
Yep.
O-R-U-M as in Mary.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. And no other questions?
No, that's.
Okay, well, thank you for your
Thank you
interest.
for your comment.
Thank you for your interest, I appreciate
You
that.
must be a sailor
Welcome.
mentioning waypoints.
No. I'm a hiker.
Okay, I'm gonna dive into another
To the
topic.
gentleman that there's openings on the finance committee?
Yeah, that's right, there are openings.
I was gonna mention that, but I filled out a citizen volunteer form in December. I've emailed with you, Peter, a couple times very briefly, and I have not heard from the moderator at all.
Okay, I have been
But my
communicating.
interest persists.
Yeah, okay, thank you, we appreciate that. We'll put that on the record, quite frankly.
So just for my own clarification, is this something that would get voted on, or is this just a recommendation? Joe, I kind of defer to you insofar as the parliamentary aspects of something like this.
So the question, Joe, is
a-
is this something that has to go back to the board to be, as a request to change it, or is it just something you're gonna do, or what do you need to make it happen, anything?
I don't know if there's a,
So I would be of the professional opinion, as one of your members was just alluding to. The warrant is the creation of the select board. The board has been working on the Appendix B that you've seen there. Any changes to it should come from the board, and they can do that as early as Monday evening if it's presented to them in the packet.
So maybe you could bring back to the board that it was discussed in the public hearing that it might be good to put in the FY23 actuals.
I would just say one other thing that
Go ahead.
in 2022, I think there were around 7 columns in Appendix B. And in 2023, there were 3 columns, so I think there's room, left to right, to have both budget and actual for 23 in this year's warrant.
Don't disagree. Don't disagree. Okay, anything else on that topic? Any other comments from the public at the moment? I'm going to bring up at least one other topic. I'm going to keep the public hearing going because we've got public here. A couple weeks ago, we got information on the revolving account expenses at the Cultural Center, or 204 System Road. Thank you very much, Kathleen, for providing that. In my opinion, it looks like now, since we've been operating the Cultural Center for a while, that we now have a sort of a track record on what goes on there financially, as far as, you know, expenses and what the categories are and whatnot. We have in the revolving fund article a $300,000 cap. It just occurs to me, and we are investing a lot in that building, which is fine. It just occurs to me that it may be time to move those expenses under the cultural director, if that's appropriate, and start using some of those funds out of the revolving fund to support the operation of that building. Just my comment. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on that one or not. Let's hear from the board before we do anything else. Anybody care about that? Anybody have an interest in that?
Well, I think I think that is what we found from the information, is that there are a variety of recurring expenses that certainly look like the same kind of expenses that are included in departmental budgets generally, but in this case are being put through a revolving fund, and which I guess can be done, but it would seem like it would be preferable for both consistency and visibility and transparency to have those expenses in the budget, and that would provide for an opportunity to reduce the amount of money needed as a revolving fund availability by a number, maybe even bring it down to say $100,000 from 300.
Okay. Michelle?
Yeah, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought one of the goals was going to be that we would eventually want a P&L for the municipal building and what we do there annually. So in that case, I would think it would make sense to start to build out that P&L and have those expenses incorporated in there, and so we could start to track, because I thought when we were discussing the whole, cultural building, that was going to be one of our goals.
Sounds good. Okay, Mark?
Yeah, just like the community center, I think the Sisson Road should be like a standalone entity. So all the expenses are in one place where you can see it. Right now, you've got the Director of Cultural Affairs, a separate line item, and Sisson Road is another item. And there's, I think it just, for example, last year, there was 1 month the gas bill was almost $10,000. It would just give us more information to keep an eye on the expenses that go on with that building. But everything associated with that building should be in one line item, just like with the community center: salary and wages, expenses, etc.
Dana, do you have anything to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I think my comment goes back to the all-day meeting. I remember asking specifically, and this is recreation, but in terms of revolving funds, how much of their fund goes back into the general fund, and the answer was 0. And now they're asking for more funds to increase their budget so that they can have more programs, and none of that money will go back into the general fund. I just think, and it's between the policymakers and the town administrator, but I think in general, as a town, we are healthier if some percentage of all revolving funds could go into the general fund to support the accountant and the treasurer and all the people that have to do the work tracking the money, and the town administrator administrating the money, because his name's on there a lot. I just think that it would be a good idea for all funds, especially a fund like the Cultural Center that has a pretty even track record. You could say, well, we could increase receipts by $50,000 and put $50,000 in the budget and offset those. I think that's something that we should examine for the Cultural Center. All budgets like that have a revolving fund, why isn't a percentage of the money going into the general fund to help support the departments that are not involved, departments that are doing all the work for the departments that are getting all this revenue? That's my biggest concern with revolving funds. Thank you.
Okay. Joe, you have any comment on that topic?
Well, yeah, sure. Starting with the last comments made, whatever can be done on revolving funds is specifically regulated by Mass Finance law. I believe these revolving funds all fall under Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. So if there is a mechanism to cover, I think, if Dana would let me use the phrase, indirect costs, so to speak, and the statute, if it allows it, we can do it. If it allows us and we can do it, there's a policy discussion that needs to take place at the board level. And for me, the role that I possess in the town does appear in every line item on revolving funds, because that was a commitment that was made by the select board and me as administrator. Every one of those relevant department heads has already been designated, so they already have the authority to use those funds in that way. So if we can do a percentage back to the general fund, we'd have to go back and look at the statute.
I know that on pickleball, they're allowed to give $5 from every fee into the general fund to help cover that. It was a flat rate, but I know that $5 of every pickleball fee goes into the, town's coffers to help offset some of the costs. And that was done at the beginning when the select board set the fee, that they put that in there. So, whether it's a set amount or whether per fee or whether it's, but a lot of these revolving funds are just, like, especially Rec and Youth, ongoing, and they start a new program and so forth. But at some point, like we have with the Cultural Center, you get to a track record, and you get to a point where you can say, we should be budgeting a portion of this, still keep the revolving fund, because the revolving fund does those extra things that can't be done from one town meeting to a next when there's more people that show up than what was projected in the budget, or this and that and the other. But you still need a revolving fund to take care of a percentage of the business of those departments. But I think we also have a good track record on the major bulk of it, so that we could increase receipts, because that money would be coming to the general fund, and we could use it to offset that. And they would budget it and so forth. I know I ran recreation as a chairman for 5 years, and I know there were no revolving funds back then. And we budgeted every single thing, whether it was t-ball or basketball or lifeguards or everything had to be budgeted. So I just think that once you get to a point, it can be done. I know it can be done. You can put that money into, and it goes in the general fund.
All right, thank you, Dan. Joe, you want to address the, just 204 Sisson Road and the concept of, I guess, under somebody putting all these expenses as a budget item? Like the director of the Cultural Center?
Again, that's it's a policy discussion. It's certainly something that can be done. I wouldn't agree on the language used about a profit and loss statement for the building, only because I would defer to others in municipal finance for what the term would be. and I'm not aware that we do those type of accounting reports for any other building. However, I believe that we can use munis to the best of its ability, and we can incorporate any level of municipal budgeting concept that we want. I thought I heard someone say before about using funds at 204 for something else. I didn't hear what something else was. But in looking at the bylaw, Chapter 8, which covers these revolving funds, there is a phrase that refers to care and support. And so that, my understanding under 4453E.5 gives wide latitude. So the devil's in the details of how we define care and support.
So Joe, just for my information, who at the moment pays the gas bill at 204?
So the utilities, I believe, go through administration for all the buildings. I believe my department, my team handles most electricity, gas, and other utility bills.
Okay, and all of the, I'll just say rents, for instance, collected at 204 go into the revolving fund, right?
I would have to double check on that because those are license agreements between the select board and the tenant.
Okay.
Unless the finance director knows that directly.
I do not.
Do we know the current balance of that revolving fund, roughly?
Uh,
I know the limit's 300,000, but I
yeah.
mean,
Your figure said 215,000 as whenever you put
Yeah,
this
that
out.
was a couple of weeks ago. I think, is that
okay, I
dated?
mean, it's north of 200,000.
Mhm.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just to be clear, because Article 39 is the one article that relates to revolving funds.
Yeah.
That $300,000 mark, what's in Article 39 is the spending cap. So revolving fund could have more than the spending cap. They can only spend to the limit.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So that,
Yep.
balance could be higher, but
Yeah, no, I understand. It's just, I guess it would be nice if we could get some indication of what sort of things are in that what contributed to the revolving fund. For instance, the rents. I mean, I don't just,
Yeah. I just see the totals. We don't see the actual, like
somebody
the back.
must have.
We'd have to pull all the cash receipts for the building and have it analyzed. Someone would have to go through every single piece of paper that's
Somebody's
submitted.
writing- I mean, I'm assuming when someone's a lessor or lessee or whatever, a renter or rentee,
Mm-hmm.
that they're writing a check on a monthly basis to the town of Harwich, and that goes somewhere.
I'm sure whoever receives the receipts could speak much more to that. I don't have that information. So whoever receives the funds
Yep.
and then submits them to be deposited, at the treasurer's office, that person can speak to
That would
that.
be the treasurer's office.
Yeah, I would think so, right?
So the treasurer takes it in, but we don't look at how it came to be and who paid what and what it was for.
Yeah,
Just
no, I
make the
understand.
deposits.
That goes back to my original statement that a lot of other departments in this town are involved in collecting, tracking, working with all these revolving funds. And the more that they request to expand these revolving funds, as the Rickford Youth is doing this year, the more work that has to be done and the less we get from it. We don't get anything.
So if I look at, I'm just picking, a similar building is the community center, right? And so in this document, we have the salaries and wages for the community center, and then we have expenses on a line item. It says 207,648, right? Does that include utilities, or are they all paid through your
No, that
department,
includes
Joe?
utilities. They may process the bills, but they charge the appropriate departments where the budget resides.
Okay, so if the gas bill is charged to the community center, why wouldn't the gas bill be charged to the cultural center? I'm just asking a question.
That, I think the report that I had generated,
It does show
it's,
National
it's pages and pages of utility bills.
Grid.
Right, but they're assumed that those are going through, the assumption of that report is that those expenses are going through the revolving fund.
Yes.
That's not right. And the point that Peter's making is, in the case of the community center, those similar expenses get charged through the general fund into the community center line item.
Yep.
So the gas bills are being charged for two facilities completely differently.
Yeah, I think that's more a policy thing. I know there was different thought process. I don't know enough
Yeah,
about
and I understand
how they
people-
wanted 204 to be
I know, and I understand.
separate.
I'm not putting you on the spot, I understand that, you know, people a little bit later get profit and loss for the 204 because of, you know, what was done or not done there, but, you know, we show expenses for the library, I'm sure the gas bill is in there, or electric bill, you know. I'm sure for the cultural center, or 204, whatever we're calling it, we have a similar set of expenses that are associated to that building, nowhere else, so they should get reflected that way. I mean, I think just people have a right to know what the numbers are. That's all.
Sure.
That's just my
Yeah.
comment.
I mean, I think that would be, discussion of the board. I'd present the information, I don't make the decision about where it goes.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? All right, any other questions, comments on the operating budget? That's what this hearing is for.
I just have one question.
Oh, Mark, yeah.
I just have one question, and Joe can get back to me later. I happened to read about the community center, and, we got this at the Saturday meeting, and I just have a question, somebody could answer it later at some point in time. Cameras, 32 cameras and monitoring. For that size building, it just seems really a lot. So maybe at some point, somebody could just let me know why we need so many cameras and monitoring for the community center.
Like one in every room or something?
I don't know, I mean, it just seems almost Big Brotherish to have that many cameras in that type of building. But you don't have to give an answer now, but if you could check into that, Joe, it just seems excessive unless you have an answer.
No, I just asked for clarification because you broke up a little bit. You're asking about what I believe are the building enhancements, enhancement of service for community center. That part of it will be going for the cameras and monitors. Is that what I'm getting to?
Correct, yeah. And it's the numbers of cameras that caught my attention, that's all.
I mean, I'm not making up what he's saying, but it sounds like there's a camera in every room or something. I don't know. I mean, he's just asking the question, that's a lot of cameras.
And maybe in
Certainly ask
the memo.
Center director, but I believe the purpose is to make sure that we have security camera coverage. But we
Yeah.
will follow up.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Yep, Bob.
We were given at some point a detail of the local receipts number, the 16 million number, and line numbered 16 on that is for other departmental revenue, and that's not recreational because that was 15. Could you just comment on what goes through other department revenue, Joe?
I would defer to the finance director on the estimated receipts. If she can direct me to a report, I'll try to wade through it myself. But that is a function of going through the finance.
Yes, it is. Without going through all the report for all the different revenue, I can put that together for you and send it to you. I wouldn't want to give you an answer off the cuff. It's
I'm really
various
just
departments.
interested in a general answer of what, it's $2 million which is a fair size number, as to what kinds of, it's not recreation, so who else is generating revenue?
The fire department ambulance collections is a substantial amount of money, and I'm not sure exactly if it's which line it's in.
Ambulance reimbursements.
Yep.
Yep, so we bill and collect ambulance receipts. There are some other departments that have smaller, contributions towards that. But, one of the largest contributions in departmental revenue is the transfer station and the fire department through the ambulance billing. Those are some of the larger ones. Some of them are, we incorporate all that we can, but that's one of the largest contributors, those two.
But even some of the smaller departments, if they make copies or perform different functions, they collect the fees. There's a whole list of those fees in the town clerk's listings. If you go back to the town report, that would involve her listings. but we collect those fees in several various departments throughout the town.
Yeah, that's in a separate line item of fees and permits, things like that. You know, like if you go get a dog license, things like that. You know, fees, licenses, and permits are segregated, but then like other departmental revenue is things that it's not necessarily like regulated by like those like permit types of things. It's
Give us a breakdown would be helpful. Thank you. All right, anybody else? Anybody else in the public have any comments they want to make? Dana?
I just have a technical question. And
You came to
just
the
in
right
my
place.
past Tracking of the sources and uses, when it comes to the overlay account, there's usually two entries. One is up in the levy limit, and one is down in the expenditures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the overlay account is the only one that affects us twice. We paid $250,000 as projected. It costs us $250,000 twice to raise that. And I only see it once on the recap sheet that we have. And I'm just wondering if that other $250,000 is accounted for.
Kathleen or Joe? I don't know this guy.
I don't understand the question.
You don't understand the question?
The overlay for those in the audience, overlay is a fund that we have for, it's actually like overlay, it's abatements and allowances for taxes. If someone gets an exemption on their taxes, you know, veterans or elderly, this fund is charged the amount that person gets their tax bill reduced. We don't just write it off. It's got to be accounted for. So we have to fund that every year and have it be an appropriate balance. You know, we usually have a 5-year estimate of overlay expense, and we try to stay within that. We also track, it has to also cover outstanding receivables at the end of the year and any kind of pending appellate tax board cases. So the overlay assessment is in the uses. So that's in the recap items under state assessments.
Yeah, I saw that there, but I didn't see it as a raised number. I mean, the overlay is the only one that costs us $2.
But it's not in the levy limit, it's the expense for that overlay is captured in the recap items. So when we do the recap, it has its own line item, and that amount, it calculates, it kind of makes everything work. But that is the estimated number currently, based on the information we have right now. There was discussion by Select Board Member McCaskill and Board of Assessors Member Richard Waystack about a release of funds from the overlay fund, which would become a source of funds, and it is what we would term overlay surplus. So if
Right.
there's a surplus in the funds, we would be able to use that as a funding source for the budget. As of today's date, the overlay surplus has not been voted by the Board of Assessors, so it is not
So it's not available.
a fixed finite available fund. When it's voted, we will formally incorporate that.
Right, but my issue is that it costs us $2 for every dollar that they give us back. And, if they're gonna give us $400,000 back for this year, it costs the taxpayers of Harwich $800,000 to raise that money initially, whatever year it took place in. And it just seems like I applaud the fact that this year's overlay is projected at $250,000. That's the best thing I've seen here in 2 decades, and I applaud that move. I just don't see it on the accounting sheet the way I've seen it in the past. I'm just hoping we don't get to the end somewhere and find out that we're $250,000 short with Department of Revenue in showing that. That's all. I'm just worried.
No, and just to clarify, the actual contribution to overlay is a separate line item when we're working through the process to set the tax rate. It's only charged once. It's only contributed to the overlay fund once. We don't have to pay numerous times. If you wanted to put more money into it, I mean, that is the choice of different boards. But when you're actually setting the tax rate, you only have to contribute once. You can remove for surplus through a vote of the Board of Assessors, but when you're setting the tax rate, you have to make that contribution to the fund, and it's through a formula, but we don't have to pay it twice.
Okay, and just reinforce, Dana's concern is whether we're missing something or not. That's
We're
all
not.
you're assuring us we're not,
We are not.
so,
And that's why there's so many
I'll touch on
different,
that.
yeah, okay. All right,
On that one.
all right, Mark.
Just one more quick thing.
They always say one more question. That's always.
Brooks Academy, the side of the building that faces Sisson Road, with all the money we put in there, it looks terrible. So I just hope that is painted sooner rather than later, so people can see that, some of their tax money at work. So just an observation to Joe or whoever. And it may be scheduled this year, Joe, but it's blistered, doesn't look good.
I think he volunteered, Joe.
Exactly what I heard. So noted, thank you.
Okay, Lynn, did you have a question?
We painted the Albro House once with volunteers, right? We did.
Yeah.
Is any of that paint left?
Okay, Lynn, did you have a question?
I was just gonna respond,
Go ahead. Here she comes, Lynn.
as a member of the Harwich Historical Society, I was just going to respond to the painting that last year town meeting gave a chunk of coin to get the roof, the siding, and the windows replaced. It's my understanding that there's a contract in process, at some point in the process, Joe, for the architect to put up the specs, and then an RFP will go out, and then, yes, so that is a piece that is in process. It's probably phase 2 of what would be a 3-phase process. Phase 1 being the foundation,
Right.
phase 2 being roof, windows, and siding, and yes, the siding is buckling at places, it's a mess. And the third phase, which isn't on the capital plan currently, unfortunately, is the one that would do interior and an elevator, which without the elevator, we cannot get an occupancy permit to have the public in there. So we're hoping that that actually can be replaced. But just to answer your question on the painting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Somebody note the time.
Vote to
7:22.
close the public hearing.
Hang on a second. Danny, you moving to close the public hearing?
I did.
Okay, is there a
I
second?
second.
All right, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Aye. Dana?
Aye.
6-0, thank you. Okay. Kathleen, thank you very much. You're welcome to stay if you want to and listen. We're going to try and work through some of the warrant stuff we have.
if you have any, it's nice to see my husband when he's awake, so I haven't been able to do much of that this
Uh-oh.
past bunch of months. So, if you have any questions that you wanted to discuss now, I'm happy to.
Okay.
But to stay through the duration it would be in my daughter's home from college. It'd be nice to actually
Okay.
see her while she's awake too.
Could I just ask, are you all squared with the water department, wastewater department? I know there was, I forget which article, whatever, but there was something that seemed to be some question about who's doing what to whom and.
It'll be added in. I don't think it's in the packet right now. The town council is taking a look at it. There was an issue with the way the funding for the wastewater debt was addressed last year.
Yeah.
It was referenced a prior year article, and those funds aren't available once the year closes. You can't, go back in time and say, oh, there's some money, I'll take some of that. So it was just it was kind of an error, and it was a reference issue. So it's more just logistics, it's just correctly appropriating for FY '24's budget service this year from their retained earnings. We had to wait till everything was closed and certified to then be able to appropriate from that.
You will
So
have
it's
a
just a
resolution.
correction thing.
You will have a resolution to the,
Oh, yeah, it's already resolved, and the article is, we have the dollar amount, and I think, actually, in the time here, I might have gotten the article back from the town council. So it was just to make sure that, all the
okay.
i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
All right. Any other articles or questions for Kathleen? No? I think we're good. We
Yeah,
appreciate you
sure,
being here.
thank you.
And we'll look forward to getting
Yeah,
back.
so we have a couple of items, to-dos.
Yeah.
It probably won't be able to get them done till maybe Monday, so I just wanted to
Just
set
so
realistic
we meet again
expectations.
next Tuesday. And
Okay.
very helpful if you get it to me on Monday so that I can
Sure.
pass it out to the team and they have a
Yeah.
little bit of time to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's unfortunately been,
Yeah.
things that have moved, given, just as an overview, as everyone's well aware, there's all new staff, and we've been short a treasurer collector since the summer. We have the help of a consultant, but it's not a full-time
Yeah.
fill.
No, we understand.
And, when they come in with a 6-month backlog, it takes a long time to go
We haven't
through.
been knocking on your door every morning.
No,
saying,
I
"Where's
appreciate
this,
it, but
where's
just
that?"
that's
We
why
understand.
I think there's been, a delay in certain things. There was
Yep.
unfortunately,
Some point
free
need
cash took
bodies
some
in
time.
place to do the work.
Well, we certainly keep looking, but it's needle in a haystack. So just, that's why there are some things that, look like they're last minute changes. It's not like, we're playing fast and loose.
the
It's
problem-
trying to be the most
Yeah,
accurate
The
that
problem
we
is the
could be.
public looks at it and they say, what's going on? How come we
I
don't
know,
have the,
I know.
it's
And-
late, what's
yeah.
happening? We don't know this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, and it's more just to be fair, to everyone who asks questions, and, and it's good that they are looking. Sometimes, when we revisit this and we talk with outside sources, we're talking with our financial advisors.
Yeah.
We have a substantial borrowing that we'll be undertaking the end of the fiscal year, and we want to make sure we get it right, because it's all new people involved.
Yeah,
There's
right.
there's a lot to it, and we want to make sure it's all correct. So if we just to make sure there could be an unexpected, you don't want to be short with it. So we added like $8,000 just because it's an estimated debt payment. It's not final from them.
I
So
understand.
we just want to make sure it's.
All right. thank
So there
you.
are some changes,
All
so.
right, thank you very much. All right.
Mark, thanks for the.
Anytime.
Yeah, I think the EOS stuff should be resolved
Yep.
shortly.
Look forward to it.
We look forward to not changing.
All right.
too.
Okay, Danny, you ready to roll? Joe, do you have anything else to wrap
Sure.
up before we move on to our business?
All right, thank you all.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Kathleen.
I stand ready to answer any questions on the list of articles that you have, and can tell you some of the things that were new as a result of the board's meeting on March 19th. So I will get home at some point as well, but I stand ready to answer questions given
Okay.
the vital importance of it.
Okay, why don't you just hang in there while we take up some of these articles, and, we're trying to, by the way, what's the deadline for the Finance Committee to finish its work on the warrant? Do you have a date?
So the target date that we've had is unfortunate date of April Fool, April 1st. So if we can have everything in front of the select board to be aware of all content in the warrant, which of course, as you know, we've gone ahead of the bylaw change that may come. We've recorded all the votes. So we need to have all of that in place for the board to be able to close on Monday, April 1st.
So you're
This
saying,
coming month?
so you're saying that's a week from Monday?
Correct.
And we
I
just,
recognize that you have that acronym that I never get right. Not that
No
it's
recommendation pending further information.
The one,
well, I would,
There's gonna be a lot of those this year.
the only thing I would say, Joe, and I've been through many of these things, we gotta get back to a point where we cut off requests for stuff in the warrant sooner, because it's not much time, I mean, here we are.
Mr. Chairman, may I add to the record, no arguments here whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think maybe when we get done with this town meeting, it might be worthwhile to have a debrief with the, the finance, the finance team, the selectmen, and the finance committee, and say, how do we clean this up or make it better? You know what I mean? So it just seems like,
Absolutely.
yeah. But here we are. We got to deal with what we have. So, all right, Dan, you ready to run?
Yeah, I have one question for the town administrator.
All right, go for it.
You have the one article that you have free cash in terms of capital outlay projects, but were you intending, as we usually do, to use free cash for the Chase and Harwich libraries, to promote the town and the cultural council?
A portion of, I believe, though, there's not enough to go around for all of them. That is a discussion on the funding. I think we can get most of them done, but not all of them done with free cash. So it would be my recommendation to raise and appropriate on the smaller one.
Okay, I have.
Unless we find other funding sources.
Yeah, I have it at $9,500 short on the total that you have projected. So I'll make a recommendation based on that, if that's all right.
So if I could, the number that the finance director showed me Tuesday evening, I think was north of 60,000.
On free cash?
Correct.
Okay. So she has something that I don't have, because I have the one big article, which is capital outlay projects funded from free cash, which is 2892. It's Article 18 on my list, but that might have changed since yesterday.
Nope.
But it's
The number's
$2,892,000.
Hang on a second, Dana. Dana, hang on a second.
Yep.
Let us all get to Article 18. There's too many petition articles in the way to flip through,
I
right?
know.
Yeah. All right, so if you're reading Article 18, it's a capital outlay projects funded from free cash, right?
Right.
All right, what would you like to do,
That
sir?
would be my motion, because that would be the highest priority, I think, of the finance committee, to accept and adopt that with 2892000 from free cash.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Are we A&Ing or
Yep.
available?
Yeah, accept and
No.
adopt.
Okay, I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and adopt funded from free cash, Article 18, which is capital outlay projects funded from free cash. Surprisingly, right? Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Actually, I'd like to have discussion, I guess.
I've asked, any discussion? What would you like
Well,
to
it was just quick.
Well, let's take it back then. All right.
Well, I guess we go back to, and perhaps Joe can comment on what I think the total of these different funding articles for capital don't finally cover the entire capital plan for FY25. And the discussion, and I guess the question is about the discussion leading up to the articles, the items that were not included, and I suppose the determination of the relative priorities involved then.
Right. So what he's asking is, these are funded by free cash, which is a straightforward, vote at town meeting, and then there are others that involve a borrowing, and wastewater retained earnings, et cetera. How did we prioritize these to be funded by free cash? Is that your question?
Well, and why there are some on the 5-year
Article
capital.
17 is of various sources, right?
No, but the 5-year capital plan has $11 million of items on it,
Yep.
the one that we've been working with, and I don't believe that the vote finally was able to accommodate all of the items on the plan. And I guess that's my question, is about the items not being planned to be included in the capital expenditures for FY25.
So it may help, Mr. Chairman, if I could through you, if you look at Article 16, which is up to date and has the Appendix C, and I believe, Mr. Chairman, you have the one that can actually be read by human eyes.
Wait,
11 by 7.
Earl Warren, you said Article 15?
One read by human eyes. That's his, he's.
Adopt the capital plan.
Correct.
1-6,
So, Mr.
okay.
Chairman,
Yep.
to your left is the Appendix C. It's also included in your material. So that, first of all, breaks down, correct, thank you. And there's an 8.5 by 11 version in that packet.
Yeah. So there are items no longer in here that were in the earlier one, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Correct.
This adds up to the articles.
Yeah.
And I'm asking about the items that were not approved.
Where'd they go? Where'd they go?
Right, where'd they go?
I understand, I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. So, beyond what you see on the Appendix C, what has been removed under facilities maintenance is the reference to West Academy, which is 80 Parallel Street. That was for $1,160,000. The plan that was presented to you jointly with the Select Board and the Capital Outlay Committee in December, I made reference to, we were contemplating if free cash was not sufficient. Of course, we didn't expect it to be this not sufficient. That we might rely upon the funds available for the sale of land, 276 Queen Anne. The Select Board debated that item several times, I think January, February, and directed me to reshape the capital outlay plan, and that large expenditure was removed. Those funds are not being anticipated by the board, but if you look on the list of articles, you'll see Article 22 allows the board to discuss how they're going to use those. Now, those funds were in excess of 1.5 million, so we were looking to use a portion of that for Brooks Academy Museum. The board did not support that. Additionally, if you travel down in the plan under golf irrigation update, it's $2.5 million. They were looking to do that paid through golf improvement receipt, which is a receipts reserved account. However, we felt that there was not sufficient time to get all the borrowing information together sufficiently, so that they have asked that that be held off. Then you have Public Works, Chapter 90, similar situation where we had funds but not funds sufficient to cover everything, no borrowing authorization. The recommendation was to hold off. There was a similar recommendation that has been corrected under Water Department, 8 Pleasant Lake Avenue tank, and that you will see now appears in a draft version right now of Article 19. We have prior borrowing authorization. What there's going to be seeking is a clarification of $1 million of that project coming from retained earnings from water receipts, and the remaining $750,000 be related to a borrowing authorization. So that one has the necessary work done previously. I believe if you add all of those up, plus the table that you see below on Appendix C, I think you get to that, what was 11 million. Now, there was one other slight change, about $50,000 if you look at information technology, the electronic records, content management. The request was for up to $200,000, while our town clerk and IT director sought a community compact grant. They were successful in getting that grant in the amount of $150,000, so they wanted that project request to match the grant. So if you added everything up, it's still going to be $50,000 less than what you saw in December, and that's because of the project change in information technology.
So Joe, I think the confusing factor is that, let's just take the Brooks Academy thing, that rightly so was on the plan to be funded, you know, in 2025 at $1 million+ as I remember. Now it shows zeros across the board. It isn't like we delayed it by a year, we pushed it out for 2 years, and we'll talk about it later. The need for that money disappeared. Now, I heard what you said about, you know, sale of land, et cetera, but that work still would need to be done and be advocated for, right?
Well, in the short term, no. Sean Libby has informed, that we can rely upon existing funds, and I believe as the representative from the Historical Society had referenced, we're going to be relying upon information from an architect and funds presently available to give us a schematic of going forward of that 1.16 that we imagine, what should happen, when, and how.
Okay.
Additionally, if I may, I reminded the board Tuesday that if they were to accept the funding mechanism that I offer, which is not my preference, but we do what we do, that we are contemplating, if there's a special town meeting in the fall, that free cash that may be certified there may be relied upon or other funding sources. So that's why they do not appear fiscal year 2025, because they're not funded and they are not yet put in out year. I also want to emphasize, unlike the special purpose stabilization, fully aware and putting out there for everybody, that if we were to come back at a fall town meeting, this is the scenario that requires a 2/3 vote.
Exactly.
So if we were going to add these projects back to the plan, adding them to the plan requires a 2/3 vote.
See, the problem I have is, right now it shows zero across the board for the next 5 years. If we decide, somebody figures out, oh yeah, we're ready to do it now we're going to do what I call jump the plan. In other words, instead of starting in year 5 and working your way in, we're going to jump it to the year we're in. I mean, it's not really planning at that point in time. It's reacting to what funds are available. Just like the irrigation update, it looks like we're never going to do the irrigation system. Well, maybe that's true. I don't know, but it shows zero. I don't know. Okay. It's just, it's funny to explain to the public what happened to it, that's all. Anyhow, so Dana, you want to get back to what you started here about capital outlay projects? Let's see. Okay, so we had, just for the record, we had a motion to accept and adopt. This is Article 18, capital outlay projects funded from free cash. Dana moved it. Mark Amherst seconded it. Is there any further discussion on that article? In other words, the article is accept and adopt.
Which one is it, 18? This one.
You guys okay?
You already voted.
Ready for a vote? Okay, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Bob?
No.
Okay. Dana?
Aye.
All right, chair's an aye, so it's 5-1. 5-1 with Bob.
Everything.
Bob, and no. Okay, what do you got next, Dana?
Just double checking with the town administrator, so the one before that, Article 17, is still funded from various sources, those sources are okay, and the total is still 189,863.
That's correct, and that also was adopted by the select board as well by a 4-0 vote.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept and adopt Article 17, and that we spend $1,089,863 from the various sources.
Wait, what's the total number?
That's a lot different from ours.
1,089,863.
We don't have that number.
Yeah, where you got that number from? We have a number in the warrant that says 437,863.
That's right.
I know you don't have the latest paper version we have because you're not here, but Joe, can you confirm the number? 437,863.
Number is, yep, 437,863, and it does add correct.
So
What is the big change in that one?
Looks like about $600,000 to me, 650.
Which got moved over to other funding.
I'm sorry, I don't have that number, so I can't make a motion. I withdraw my motion.
Shall I make the motion?
Okay, hang on a second. Dana, just to be clear, can I just read you what the projects are, just for your own information, okay? Harwich Channel 8, Harwich Channel 18 equipment upgrades, $47,863. Herring River ramp replacement, $40,000. That's in the Waterways Improvement Fund. Facilities maintenance, Harbor generated $200,000, Waterways Improvement Fund. Electronic records / content management, $150, is coming from a community compact IT grant. So those are the four items, and those are the four various sources identified.
That's what I had, yeah.
Well, they don't
That
add,
totals one,
that doesn't add up to $1 million.
1089.
It doesn't add up. You add those numbers up, it comes up to 437,863. Maybe you got a typo somewhere.
That's what was printed in the selectmen's packet.
Okay, well, they must have fixed it. They must have fixed it before it got to us.
Okay,
Correct.
so the new number is, move to accept and adopt 437,863 for the four items listed to come from various sources.
Okay, so Dana has moved.
I second.
Okay, Mark A. has seconded to accept and adopt Article 17, capital outlay projects funded from various sources. The total is $437,863. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll put it to
So we
vote.
have computers, so we can do it right away.
There you go. Mark?
Aye.
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob? Dana?
Aye.
Chairman's and I, 6-0. Okay, thank you. What other misnomer do you want to work on?
That's,
Okay, you have one item coming from tax levy
in there.
for the capital projects, the
So Dana, if I could here, there were significant changes made after Tuesday night, when the school district confirmed that dollar amount of $120,000 was already factored in to their assessment, which is listed under Article 5. So we no longer need that old article.
Okay, good. How about, you have two articles looking for water retained earnings.
Article 19 is one of them. Article
Okay, so
19 is water retained earnings.
One at 652 and one at 75, is that still the same? Have they been combined, or?
What I have on Article 19, which is capital outlay projects funded from water retained earnings, Dana, on what we have today, it's marked up in yellow, says draft only, borrowing language to be added. And they highlighted the Pleasant Lake Avenue tank painting for $1 million. I don't know if that's an updated number or to be changed. And a borrowing for the remainder of the tank of $750,000. Joe, can you tell us anything on that?
I can. So the reason why this is draft is because we will need to have the borrowing language within the article. So this was the item I referred to before under Article 16 when you look at the Appendix C. So all of those numbers side with the original request of the Water Department, and they break out as 270,000, 232,000, 150,000, and $1 million. Those totals from retained earnings, and that there be an authorization to borrow the additional 750,000, which would still total $2,402,000.
All right.
But I would ask you not to act yet because the language is not.
Yeah. So Dana,
Mr. Chairman?
I'd hold this till we get to next week.
Yeah, rather than put the no recommendation tag on this, we'll just hold all that.
Let's just hold this. Let's just hold it till next Tuesday. We'll get an update on language,
Yeah.
hopefully. All right.
Okay.
And then, Dana, if I could, the current Article 20 is retained earnings wastewater. That number has never changed. That amount is being sought, and that amount was endorsed by the select board, 4-0.
That's,
So that's 75,000 is still accurate.
So we can vote
and
that
that's
one,
for
Dana.
wastewater retained earnings.
Correct.
Okay, and I don't know the new number on that.
It's 20.
Uh,
It's Article 20?
That, yep. I move that we accept and adopt Article 20, $75,000 from wastewater retained earnings.
I second.
Okay, move to accept and adopt Article 20, which is capital outlay projects funded from wastewater retained earnings, $75,000. Just making a note here, Dana. Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob? Dana?
Aye.
Chairman's an aye, 6-0. All right, what do you got?
We can't really do much with the land acquisition ones and the corrective town meeting ones until we see some language, and all the CPC ones haven't come our way yet. So that gets us down to the annual revolving funds. I don't know if you want to discuss that one with what we talked about tonight. We also have the 3 transfer from Queen Anne Road articles. I don't know if those are ready. I have them as probably 39, 40, 41, and I have them as 40, 41, 42. But whatever those articles are, 3 transfers. Maybe
Joe,
Joe
can
can help us with
wait,
those.
Joe, can I just ask the question? All the CPC articles, have they been voted by CPC and sent to the selectmen or whatever to you, saying they're all okay?
They have been verified by CPC. They are going in front of the board Monday. However, the board defers to CPC on these. I met yesterday with the leadership of community preservation, legal counsel, and the finance director. So the articles that we have, which technically cover Articles 23 through 36, have been vetted by CPC.
I can't make motion on those at this point, but we don't have anything in front of me, so, except for placeholders and zeros.
Okay, we actually have language.
Okay, if you want to go ahead with someone else.
Yeah, I mean, you know, let me just say, with CPC, and I think Joe alluded to it with the Board of Selectmen, you know, we have a CPC committee. They seek applications to these funds. The funds are identified as the magnitude and what they're designated to go into. And that committee, I mean, they oftentimes are working the same time we're working in here. They pick which projects qualify. And I think, I mean, I don't want to say it's a rubber stamp, but that's their job to do that. And my recommendation is we just accept and adopt these and move forward. Unless someone else would like to do something different. We will take them up one at a time, but if you're okay doing that, then I suggest we plow through them just so we can get through them, you know? Is that okay?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. All right, so I guess the first one, let's see,
What article are we on, Peter?
23.
23, right?
Yep.
Correction to Article 24.
Say it again.
It's a correction to last year's vote.
Oh, right,
That's the
correct,
title.
Article 24.
Okay, Article 24, Community Preservation
No,
Act.
Article 23.
You guys are jumping around.
No, it's Article 23, it's the first CPC article.
Not on the updated one.
Not in the updated version.
This is.
No, it isn't.
On this
The
version?
packet that was passed out.
Yeah,
Oh,
All right,
correct.
can we be clear, Joe, would you just check? I think that,
this-
well,
The correction of Article 24 is by request of the Select Board and the Community Preservation Committee.
okay, all right, so Article 23 is to correct an Article 24 from the 23 annual town meeting,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay.
Submitting a conservation restriction.
Okay, so with that, Mark,
We need a motion.
yeah, would you make a motion to
I
accept
so
and
move
adopt?
to accept and adopt Article 23.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. By the way, it's to correct an article from the 2023 annual meeting. Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
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 Dana?
Aye.
You know you can't see it. All right, 6-0.
I'm looking online now at what you
Yeah,
had
okay.
earlier.
All right, good. All right, Article 24, Community Preservation Act, housekeeping expenses. Your motion to accept and adopt?
I'll make a motion to accept and adopt.
Okay, wait,
Would you rather
it's
he do
budget,
that?
yeah, for
Yeah.
bookkeeping
Keep it clear.
priority.
Yeah, I understand, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Mark A.
I move, well, let me say it out loud. I move to accept and adopt Article 24.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Move to accept and adopt Article 4, Community Preservation Act, housekeeping expenses. Discussion? Hearing
Mr.
none.
Chairman,
Yep,
this puts the money in the correct buckets, but it also has $75,000 for requested revenue. So I assume that our request is, the number associated with the article is $75,000.
So according to council, there's no number per se. This is an administrative act, housekeeping, and it combines what I think 2 years ago were two different articles, one for the bucket, so to speak, and one for the administrative expenses. Council confirmed and offered, finance director and CPC agreed to commingle all of it, but there is technically no dollar associated or estimated cost with this article. It is a housekeeping measure.
So the $75,000 is coming from them, to them?
I believe what they're saying is they're earmarked, for lack of a better word, $75,000 to be set aside for their administrative expenses, which the act allows for. So there are the three buckets and administrative costs that they can set aside.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past, as you might remember, that's been $50,000. This is the first time it's gone to 75.
I would defer to CPC on that. I'm not aware of that change.
I believe you're right, Dana. This is an increase. This is an
I'm just gonna vote
increase.
against it for that reason, but that's okay.
they're requesting an increase of Parliament.
Yeah,
Okay?
yep.
All right, so we have a motion to accept and adopt Community Preservation Act housekeeping expenses, which is Article 24. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
No,
You said no?
yes. I said no.
Yes, you said no. Okay. Chair is a yes, so 5-1. Dana is a no, or a yes.
That guy.
Okay, Article 25, Community Preservation Act, Beach Automated External Defibrillator AED Acquisition. For a motion to accept and adopt?
Move to accept and adopt.
All right, Dana's got it, okay. So Dana,
And it,
wait, is there a second?
A second?
Okay. Discussion.
39,000 coming from two different sources to fund it, from CPC funds.
Right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Chair is an aye, 6-0. Thank you. All right. Article 26, Community Preservation Act, Coldbrook Trailhead and Public Access Project. It's $250,000, Community Preservation Fund.
Chairman, I move we accept and adopt $250,000 to come from CPC funds.
A second?
Okay, moved to accept and adopt, hang on a second. Article 26, Community Preservation Act, Cold Brook Trail and Public Access Project at $250,000 coming from CPC funds. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Chair is an aye, 6-0, thank you. Okay, Article 27, Community Preservation Act, Harwich Police Soccer Club Street Soccer Pitch, also known as the soccer field, I guess. It's $48,700 from Community Preservation Act funds. Your motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept and adopt 48,700 from CPC for this purpose, CPC for Act funds.
Okay, is there a second?
A second?
Okay, moved and accepted, move to accept and adopt Article 27, $48,700 from Community Preservation Act funds for the soccer pitch. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, Mark, we're gonna go by you.
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye.
Dana.
Aye.
Chair's an aye, so 6-0. Joe, do you know if this is, who's gonna maintain this field once it's done? Do we know?
I'm not privy to that information.
Okay. I mean,
I'll
is,
tell you who's gonna do it.
do you think it's gonna be like an irrigation system and all that? Is that part of the cost?
It's portable.
I
A
believe
mobile soccer
it is,
pitch project.
Yeah.
The Harwich Police was purchasing the portable unit that they've rented before.
Oh, okay.
I believe it's the one that you've seen in the community center parking lot.
Yeah, I know what you mean now, yeah. Okay, we'll move on to Article 28, Community Preservation Act, Affordable Housing Trust Funds. This is looking at $500,000 broken in a couple pieces, $199,500 from the FY 2025 Community Housing Reserve Fund and $300,500 from the FY 25 Estimated Annual Revenue to fund the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. A motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept and adopt
I
Okay.
second.
$500.
There's a second?
I second.
Okay, discussion. Michelle?
Yeah, I was just curious about, so this is to provide education to local elected and appointed officials. So is this something that other towns are doing as well, or
Are
Are
we
we
reading
can-
the same one?
Yeah,
this one?
right here under
I just
explanation.
had a question about, how it works. I don't know anything about it.
Joe, can you shed light on that? She's focusing on the explanation, which is fund the Harwich
Oh,
Affordable.
29, you're doing 29? Did we do
28 we're doing.
128.
I thought we were
Oh.
doing 28.
I'm sorry.
That's why
I'm
I
on the
was
wrong one.
confused.
And we don't have a question, Joe.
Have it out.
Hold
I'm on the
those-
wrong one, sorry.
Hold the answer. It may be the same answer. I don't know.
So this is 28.
Number 28, which is Community Preservation Act Affordable Housing Trust Funds.
$500,000.
That's what my motion was for.
Sorry, my
And that's what
mistake.
Mark seconded is for. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Oh, all right, good stuff.
Aye.
You sure?
I'm not sure, but I'll vote aye.
Okay, Dana?
Aye.
Okay, chair is an aye, 6-0. Thank you. I'll have to tell me later what that was about. All right, now we're on the
You are
20.
what
You remember last year?
I know.
We didn't.
I know. Article 29, Community Preservation Act, Lower Cape Housing Institute. See the town about to,
I move we accept and adopt $7,500 to come from CPC funds.
I second.
all right, so moved by Dana, accept and adopt. Mark seconded. Okay, so the article is to see the town vote to appropriate $7,500 from the Community Preservation Act Fund FY 2025 estimated annual revenue to fund the Lower Cape Housing Institute. Now, discussion. So Michelle, I think you want to know what that is.
Now you
Yeah, so I had a question. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I had a question about why we're spending money to educate local elected appointed officials. Is that something that other towns do as well, or is there a reason why Harwich would be doing that?
I can comment.
All right, Bob.
Okay.
The easy answer is yes. It's a program that was actually started by both Community Preservation, Community Development Partnership and HAC related to trying to educate particularly municipal officials with regard to affordable housing issues and try to build up their expertise in trying to deal with them. It's probably now 4 years old, has been brought to as articles to quite a number of the different communities have repeating articles for an amount of money requests to fund. This money goes to community. In our case, it goes to Community Development Partnership. We're part of their service area for this, and so it goes to paying their costs related to this program that they maintain. And yes, other communities also have articles that they may or may not vote to fund to help continue the program.
So it's sort of a regional effort.
It is definitely a Cape regional effort.
Yeah.
On their website, they thank Brewster, Chatham, Eastham, Harwich, Orleans, P-Town, Truro, and Wellfleet.
Does that answer your question?
What was found specifically a number of years ago was that local officials in particular that really didn't know much about trying to promote the issues, mechanics involved with trying to promote and increase their interest in promoting affordable housing in their communities.
So does the Lower Cape the Lower Cape Housing Institute have any staff?
It is allocated. There are staff at Community Development Partnership that are allocated to this project.
Okay, so part of the funding of this, I mean, there is a staff person or persons that are supported by this,
Correct.
right? Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Yes.
regionally, the towns get together with their contributions. I assume they're all the same dollar number.
I'm not sure if they're all the same dollar number, but
Okay,
anyway.
but they pool their funds and they're able to tap some resources to work on this.
Yes, and they have workshops that they run in Harwich amongst other communities.
Yeah, no, I understand.
That local people attend and are invited to attend to get more educated.
Okay. You happy? You could always vote no.
I know,
No?
and I intend to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? Do you want to discuss it further?
No, I don't know, I just think that, first of all, affordable housing, it's all over. If you talk to, it's all over the place. I mean, the discussion about affordable housing, and I mean, I guess I just have a problem with paying a third party to educate our officials, elected and appointed officials about this. I think that we know our town and we know the needs of our town, and I think that we should be able to educate the proper officials about the importance of it. I mean, we have a trust, we have a group of people in town, right, that are focused on this issue. So I just because I don't know exactly what this institute, what their educational message is. I don't know, so I'm voting to fund something that I really don't even know what I'm funding. So maybe it's a matter of learning more.
As Mark just did, that would be easily done. I think you could probably go on their website, Community Development Partnership's website, and find out more information.
Was this an article last year?
This is probably year 4, if I had to.
Yeah,
So I
it's almost
must have
like a
missed this
library.
one.
I found a CPC from Orleans in 2021 in the same amount of $7,500.
Okay,
That's all.
all right, so any other discussion on that? All right, we'll
I
put
would
to,
suggest that she could give the minority report to the board or telephone.
no problem. He's gonna make you stand up at town meeting, give him minority. All right. Let's put this to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark? Michelle?
No.
Okay, Bob?
Abstain.
Oh my God, okay.
I have
I have to
to.
write these down, wait.
And dog country.
Dana, where are you?
Aye.
You're an aye, okay, so, and the chair's an aye. So we have 1, 2.
4-1-1.
Yeah,
Yes.
4, 1, 1. Okay, it does pass, but, all right. Now, how many things are there?
Quite a few.
We got a few. All right, Article 30, Community Preservation Act, Monomoy Regional School District Press Box Project. Looks for $100,000 from Community Preservation Act funds.
Move to accept and adopt $100,000 for this purpose from CPC funds.
I second.
Okay. Moved and seconded, accept and adopt Article 30, which is CPC funds for Monomoy Regional School District Press Box. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I made the motion. I know it's going to pass and all those kinds of things, but I'm going to vote against it just because, if I think that there's a press box that needs help and work, it's the one behind our home baseball field here. I'm assuming this one goes with the new athletic field, that AstroTurf field, and they've been raising funds themselves to do all these kinds of things. And now we're being asked to step in and fund it. I, quite frankly, would rather see a request to fix our own press box behind White House Field before fixing that one.
I cannot,
This might,
I know, I understand it, but I cannot tell you or, give you any confidence that such a request was made. Maybe it should be made and, would be given the due consideration, or maybe it was made and it didn't make the cut. I don't know. Okay,
yeah.
all right. Further discussion? All right, we'll put it to a vote. The motion is accept and adopt this Article 30 for the Monomoy Regional School District Press Box Project at $100,000.
Aye.
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
No.
Okay, Dana?
No,
Okay, chair's an aye, so that gets us to 4-2, and Dana was a no, and Bob was a no. By the way, it's perfectly fine to disagree. We don't hold it against anybody.
Dana was
All right.
before.
Huh?
Before.
Article 31, CPC
I rarely disagree.
North Woods and Water Supply Protection Project. Looks for $100,000 from CPC for a project, the North Woods project, to acquire some conservation restrictions on a parcel, 7 acres.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept and adopt $100,000 from CPC funds for this purpose.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded, accept and adopt Article 31, which is Community Preservation Act funding. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Chair is an aye, 6-0. Okay, rolling on Article 32, CPC 203 Bank Street Firehouse Housing. Seeks $400,000 from CPC funds for the old fire station.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept and adopt $400,000 from CPC funds for this purpose.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and it's seconded to adopt, accept and adopt Article 32, which has to do with the old fire station. Discussion.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is this for, the fire department personnel, or it does it, can?
No, well, these units
Yeah,
will be rental housing, rental apartments, with some criteria. It's not necessarily fire department people.
But if to the extent that it is at all funded with CPC funds, it is required to be affordable housing, so meet fair housing standards and be monitored and et cetera, as just as any deed restricted affordable housing would be. So it is likely that that would be a difficult criteria to meet for our fire staff. Yes.
And it is 3 units, single bedroom units, which are in short supply, quite frankly. The only thing I would say is that when we first get into this project, people make estimates about what it's going to take to do it and whatnot, and as things happen, it grows and develops. Like, we didn't think about that, we should have done that, we didn't know we were going to do that. I mean, it happens. So. But you've got a group of folks that did a lot of fundraising, people contributed to it, and now they need to finish the project. So, I mean, that's where I am on it. All right, further
That's where the
discussion?
project is.
Yeah.
It's
Hearing none, we'll put it to vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
No.
Okay, Michelle?
aye.
Bob?
aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Sure is an aye. All right, it's 5-1 with Mark K. A no. Okay. All right, Article 33, CBC, Red River Valley Land and Water Project Protection. Sounds like Texas to me, but this looks for $99,500 from CBC funds. For motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move $99,500 from CPC funds for this purpose.
Okay, move to accept and adopt Article
Yes.
33. Mark, do you?
I second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to vote.
Aye.
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 Dana?
Aye.
All right, chair is aye, 6-0. All right,
Mr.
all
Chairman,
right.
before we go on to the next one, can we ask if we have anything else for the town administrator? We could probably release him from his bond if he'd like to. If he'd like to go.
Well, okay, so let me ask Joe, is there any reason why we couldn't or shouldn't vote the school district budget, Monomoy?
Sorry, is there a reason why you would not support? Is that what you said?
No, I mean, is there anything that's changing in there why we wouldn't take a vote tonight to accept and adopt the school budget?
So, thank you. Articles 5 and 6 have been adopted by the select board. There are no changes anticipated.
Okay. And any
We
other?
already voted 6.
Yeah, I know. We did the tech school last
We
week.
voted that last meeting.
All right. So any other issues or topics for the town administrator? I think we'll probably take up the revolving fund. I don't know if I want to sit through that and listen to that, but we'll probably do something there. I don't know. So Joe, you're welcome to stay or go. As long as we get an update from you by next Monday so that when we do our Tuesday meeting, we can hopefully get through this whole thing.
So to that end, Mr. Chairman, my effort will be to update any of the articles with your recommendations tonight, matching the recommendations the board has already made for the board's packet on Monday. I will be sharing that with everybody, and then I will be doing an update email to you Monday evening after the board.
All right, great. You can go home.
And I'll put on the record, I've got 2 teenagers just down the hall, so I think I have to go home.
That's okay. All right, thank you. We appreciate your support tonight. Okay.
Thank you. Right back in.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Article 34, Community Preservation
I
Act.
figured that was the way to go.
What?
I figured that was the way to go.
Yep. Senior Memorial Softball Field, fencing.
Mr. Chairman, I move $110,000 for that purpose from CPC.
So you want to accept and adopt?
Yep.
Okay.
I second.
All right. Move to accept and adopt Article 34, CPC Senior Memorial Softball Field Fencing. It's $110,000 from CPC funds. Discussion. The field is used a lot. All right, we'll put it to a vote. Listen, Mark.
Aye.
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 Michelle.
Aye.
Bob. Dana.
Aye.
All right, chair is an aye, 6-0, and that was an easy one. Okay, Article 35, CPC, South Harwich Gravestone Conservation wants $23,000 from CPC funds.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept and adopt $23,000 from CPC funds for this purpose.
I second.
Okay. So it's been,
Hello.
wow, is that Joe leaving?
He's
Okay,
back.
Article 35, accept and adopt,
Train's
been moved and seconded, CPC South Harwich Gravestone Conservation. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
All right, chair is aye, 6-0. Okay, I think the last Community Preservation Act one is Article 36, Veterans Memorial Complex electric irrigation replacement. Didn't we just build this thing last year? Okay,
Yes.
yep, okay. You want to do something here?
I move to accept and adopt $37,000 from CPC funds for this purpose.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Article 36, accept and adopt. $37,000 from CPC funds for the Veterans Memorial Complex electric irrigation replacement. Any discussion? All right, we'll put it to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
Chair is yes, that's 6-0. We ready to do something on, huh?
Want to do some more?
What time is it?
8:40, 8:20.
8:20.
You want it, let's go to 8:30. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right,
I
so,
can do a couple real quick. I have it as 47, I'm not sure what number it is now, but defray the expenses of the Chase and Howardsport Library.
hang on. What number are you at?
47?
I'm at 27, I'm not sure what it is on the new one, let me look.
All right,
Same number
well,
here.
47, defray expenses of Chase Library and Harwich Library. Go ahead.
Yeah, so adding up what we have for available funds in terms of free cash, we've already spent 2,892. It leaves us $10,000 short to do all three of those, or 9,537. But we can certainly do this one. So I will move to accept and adopt to pay $20,000 from free cash for this purpose.
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Hang on. Article 47, defray the expense of Chase Library and Harwich Library. So moved to accept and adopt $20,000 from free cash. Discussion.
Does that mean each
Just
one
the-
gets 20,000, or is it split amongst the two
No.
libraries?
10 each, 10 each.
10 each, okay.
Yeah. This is a customary
This
article.
article has been approved for decades.
Now, Dana, I thought that Joe said his rack up on free cash, so we had 50,000 left when we got to this. He would clarify that that was one of his assignments. So
Yep.
I would do this one, but not the others until we get a clarification.
Right, that
Okay.
was my plan, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on this? All right, we'll put it to vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
Aye.
All right, chair is aye, 6-0. Could I ask the question, do you want to do something under revolving funds? Just because we're different, or we could be different?
Yeah. Well, probably the one question we didn't ask the town administrator, like I'm assuming when we set up the actual budget that goes in the warrant, there's gonna be a column that they refer to as the selectmen's column. And then there will be a column referred to as the finance committee column, where we would do something different. So in my opinion, if we're gonna do what you are suggesting in terms of changing the revolving fund amount, we would want to put some money in the budget and some revenue in the budget to offset that. That
Okay,
part's a little more
maybe on
complicated.
this one, we should hold off until Monday, or Tuesday next week, and see if,
Yeah, let's-
see if anything happens in the meantime. He got the message as to what we're trying to do, right? Yeah, okay. So you want to go back and vote the school budget?
Yeah, we can do that one.
5?
Chairman,
Hang on, I gotta get there. Article 5,
Article 5. I move that we accept and adopt Article 5 with $29,876,982 to be raised and appropriated for this purpose.
Second?
okay. Article 5, the Monomoy Regional School budget. So moved and seconded to accept and adopt, raise and appropriate $29,876,982. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll put it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, go ahead.
I guess the hardest part about this budget for me is the fact that the federal funds have ended prior to the need for the federal funds to end. So now we as a town have to absorb it all. And, the school committee in their deliberations didn't make any changes that would offset this. They're just giving us the full package to deal with. To me, it's a tough thing to swallow. To me, it's also not worth going the whole big tent route that would solve this problem with votes and so forth. So I just think it's gonna pass, and I don't know how to stop it.
I think, Dana, that one of my comments in the budget message, at least in the report from the FinCom, will be that very thing, that these grants, they're great when you get them, but when they expire, it's like going off a cliff, and guess what? Now the burden's on
Yeah.
you folks, so that's just where that is. Yeah,
I would say one thing, Dana, I think the money is being well spent. It's going to, I thought it was originally to paraprofessionals. It's going to math specialists, English specialists, kids who got behind in those specialized subjects to help them get caught up. And when I heard math specialists and English specialists, that to me is well worth the money.
I think
I'm
they,
not,
I
I'm
think,
not disputing
They
that.
keep
I'm
control of this.
saying that of $29,876,982, there could have been some other things that are not as important as those things. Remove the budget to help offset this cost.
even if it was a token effort, Dana, I understand.
well, and I think that was the point that they even made last year when presenting last year's budget, was that it wasn't what they were using the ESSER funds for, as you mentioned, it was the fact that they knew they were going to have to cut expenses in other places to offset the loss. And that's really the question, is whether or not they cut all those expenses in other places, and it's not obvious that they did.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. I mean, I think, the added spending is not great without kind of balancing, but I do think that after COVID, there are additional needs in the schools, in the student population. And I think that that's going to last a little bit until it's outgrown. So I support it, even though I don't like the added expense. I do think that the schools are uniquely challenged right now as a result of what we just went through. So I agree with you, Dana, though, that, it's coming to us. So those expenses were there, added, and now they can't be taken away. So.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, let's put this to a vote. Mark?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Dana?
No,
All right, chairs and I. 5-1, Dana, no. All right, so let's, in the 30 seconds we have left, Dana, you're gonna give us a new rack up, you probably have it out to us tomorrow, right?
Yep, it's rainy day tomorrow here, so I'll definitely.
We'll see where we are and how many other articles you have to deal with. Have you started to write up justifications or whatever?
Yes, I've done the first 6 articles, of the ones we voted last week. I did send them out. They were all the customary ones. They had pretty much the same language attached to each.
Okay, but as you get to them, I know you're gonna take a shot at each one. Send them around. Sometimes Dana uses Maine English,
Right.
which is different than the rest of the world.
Maniac.
And by the way, if you think it can be worded clearer or better or needs something added to it, jump in, okay?
Yeah, I have no license in doing this, and
Right.
hoping someone else.
The problem we have, this is all gonna be last minute. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a train wreck.
The more we can get done now, the better off we are.
Yeah,
And I never submit them to the administration's office, who has to have them in the warrant, but they're looking for them too. I never submit them until after we've had a follow-up meeting to make sure there are no changes or language
exactly.
problems.
Okay, now, so we're gonna meet next Tuesday. My intent of that meeting is to get through all the articles, whatever's left. And if we have your write-ups, our recommendations, we can go through, and if anybody's got edits, we can do that, give them edits ahead of time. The problem is Thursday morning, I'm leaving for the weekend, so he's got this April 1st deadline, so I think we're gonna do everything Tuesday night, quite frankly. Is,
It's a holiday.
huh?
It's a holiday, right?
Tuesday?
No, the following.
Oh, it's Easter Sunday.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
Easter weekend.
Yeah, well,
So.
whatever.
But there's no
Yeah.
holiday.
No, I mean, sorry for me.
Now, if we'd like, we could post for next Wednesday night in addition if we need it. But I don't mind
Well, I
spending.
know there's a week built in there, and I know that we could meet Wednesday and make any last minute changes, because there will be some. Otherwise, there are gonna be some of these that we're not sure on, that we're just gonna have to make no recommendation pending further information.
And maybe that's what we do, we just draw the
The
line.
idea being that we wanna have as much information out as we can written more than some decisions we just have to make because we haven't had enough time.
Okay, so how about this, we meet on Tuesday, we get done we can. If there's any hangover, we actually schedule a meeting for like the following Tuesday, which would be April 2nd or something like that, and that's just the way it is. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were given
I
this
mean-
stuff literally today.
We're not gonna post a meeting for that next Wednesday. We're gonna have a meeting on Tuesday, but if we can't get it covered, we're gonna do the following Tuesday?
Yep,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, I mean,
I believe from the posting made that the select board intends on closing the warrant Monday.
well, that can be their intent, but
Yep.
they can't, until we give them our input on our votes and our wording, they can close the warrant. But that doesn't mean they're gonna publish it.
Right, that's right.
Okay, so,
No, just saying that from their standpoint, I think that would mean that they plan on being done at their.
yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Yep,
But there's
Okay.
a number of these articles that aren't even written yet.
no, I know. Well, we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get, between now and who knows what, right? Okay,
Right.
so could I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
It's not debatable. There's a second?
Second.
Okay.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Dana?
No,
Okay, Chair's an aye.
Just because it's
5-1,
a rainy
Dana,
day
send me.
tomorrow.
All right, Dana, stay there. I'll get your list done. Send it to us. You'll probably have it by